Welcome to another episode of What's Good, bro? Where we have new conversations.
Real life.
I'm PSJ.
And I'm PJ.
And today we have another amazing segment for you.
Yep, we do.
The last one was amazing, but this one is going to blow it up. So today we have two, not one, two guests with us. You are now listening to What's Good, Bro? I'm PSJ.
And I'm PJ.
A podcast where we share new conversations
and real life experiences men face.
So subscribe,
rate,
and review wherever you get your podcast.
Now to the episode.
Let's go. So I'll have them introduce themselves. Yeah, I'll have them introduce themselves. Go ahead, lovely lady.
Okay, so my name is Oluwakemi. People call me PKems, but whichever way, Oluwakemi. So I'm glad to be an invitee to your set.
You're welcome.
And yeah, I think that's more of what I have to share for now.
Welcome. Also, we have someone who is very instrumental to our production. I'll have her introduce herself.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Funbi. I mostly am in the background, and I serve as the producer for What's Good, Bro? It's not just the fellas behind the scenes.
That's it. We have two strong women behind us too.
Yeah, exactly.
Behind the scenes too.
Yeah.
But it's really good to be on the couch with you guys. I hope it's
amazing.
fun.
Yeah. So last week we had Muriel with us in the last episode, and it was amazing. And you know, we touched on fantastic topics, right?
We did actually, and it was quite refreshing. And I think that's why it begs that we bring other females, because we want to hear more about. We even started off, can men and women be friends? And I believe they will even give us more insight, because we feel like we know so much until we hear from your own perspective. So it's really good to have you, and you've been with us like all through. Actually, like shout out. Most times they're literally in the same room with us, just producer, and she's also here with us. So I am excited about what we're going to talk today. I believe it will be very, very insightful.
I think today what we will focus on is decoding this, relationship dynamics of the male and the female. So. We can't do it alone because we don't know it all. There's the perspective of the female, the perspective of the men. So we will bounce off each other, right? And so we're very curious to know your take, even though we've talked about it in the last episode. But we would just like to have a bit of, do you really think PKems and our able producer that men and women can actually be friends?
My short answer, yes. Definitely. Yes, they can be friends. That is my answer. That is why I said my short answer is...
So I believe they can be friends. It's now what level of closeness are you doing your friending, so to speak? Because that would sort of lend a response to, can men and women be friends? So if you're hanging out, I'm calling you, I have something happened, you're a friend I can call, I feel free, I can talk to you about stuff. That's on one end. But there's okay, let's go to the cinema together. Okay, come to my house, let's cook for each other. Okay, let me put my leg on your lap. Oh, we're just friends. No, I think you start to cross over into some emotional waters that both of you may not have anticipated. So mine it's the degree or the level of intimacy that, and I mean intimacy with conversation, intimacy with space, intimacy. Oh, you're my friend. Oh, I'm changing. Come into the room now. I'm just changing. What's that? Because it may be cool. Oh yeah, he's like my brother. He's like my cousin. Yeah, but when the dude is feeling, same kind of way, well, he's not going to tell you because he doesn't want it to be awkward, or you as a female friend, when a girl comes into his life and he's all the time talking about this girl, it's irking you, but you can't say because you're friends. So what degree of intimacy do you guys have is what would lend to, can men and women be friends, in my opinion?
So that begs the question, my next question, as to how what are the rules of engagement, especially if one of you go into a relationship? If you have how does that work? So let me give you a case in point so you have a better understanding. If you have a friend that you consider like your best friend and he's male, how does that dynamic work once you get in a relationship? What should happen? What is
So I think this is where boundaries come into play. Even to like buttress on your point on changing, even if it's your brother or your cousin, like my brothers are not in the room when I'm getting changed. Like, no, we're no longer kids. At a certain age, that doesn't happen. So there are boundaries that exist. And so if you have a very good friend who happens to be a man or a very good friend who happens to be a woman, and you find someone you're romantically attracted to, you're having those conversations, I think then you have boundaries that come into play, right? I have very good male friends who are in relationships and I don't call them every week. You know, I'm not on their case every moment in time. I don't even butt into their relationships unless I've been given the invitation to, guy, this is happening. I don't know what's happening. Like, what do you think? Or, guy, I'm thinking of doing this. I'm like, you are? Crazy. Well, you know, have you thought about this? When that invitation is extended to me, then I can make a point. I can make my opinion known or heard or whatever it is. But if they haven't given you that invitation, which is why I say boundaries are important, then I don't think you have any right to speak into it unless it is a situation where it is unhealthy or unsafe for either party. Then you can then come into the conversation and start to speak. But having clear, defined boundaries is what helps to make these things easier. The other thing I have to say is yourself as a person, as a character, right? If you're not in love with your so-called best friend, then you shouldn't make your partner feel insecure about your best friend. You know, and it's not saying that when people get into relationships, they forget about their friends and themselves and their own lives. That's not what I'm saying. I think there comes a distinction in knowing the level of time and availability your friend can give you in certain circumstances and life situations. And you have to be able to respect their partner and respect them in this new scenario, in the new season. The other thing I would say is also give, you know, the friend the time to invite you in to that relationship, whether it's, guy, I don't know, I'm going through this and this and this. What do you think? That is an invitation saying, I kind of want your opinion. I want your thoughts. You see me with this person. What do you think about this person? Or how do you find the situation that we're in? I think that helps you navigate this change that you're experiencing in your friendship in a healthy manner, because they've invited you in. They've valued your relationship as well as your opinion because of the years of friendship you have to ask you those questions. There's special circumstances where you can butt in, and the only special circumstance I think of is when it's clearly unsafe or unhealthy for either party. You know, I think that's when it comes in. Or if you're friends with someone and you can call out your friends on, you know, when they're acting out of line, you'll be like, guy, I'm sorry, but you're treating your babe like, that's unfair. You can do better. Like, there's an accountability that happens there, you know. And on the flip side, you as the friend who's in the relationship, you have a responsibility to reassure your partner as well, not to start building up fantasies. People only build up fantasies if you give them the room to build up fantasies. If you don't create clear distinctions and boundaries, you're building room for misunderstandings to happen. So the first question I would say is, if you have a male best friend, if your guy has yawned you, I kind of have a little crush on you. You gotta ask, okay, this relationship you're in, are you trying to overcome the fact that I said, well, I just see you as a friend? Or have you fully moved on? And vice versa.
Do you even want to get into that conversation?
It's uncomfortable.
Like, in terms of this new relationship you're in, you just told me you had a crush on men. So it's also showing...
No, so
that's what
you see, I think the issue we have that I see a lot in relationships is, if a man has come to you, and I'm saying this now, let me look at the camera. If a man has come to you and he tells you he likes you, his intention for you are of his own good and you're good, what we would say is, if you do not have the same feelings, make it clear. And when we mean clear, it doesn't mean you can't just say, oh, let's be friends. He still has those intentions. That's one thing we need to understand. He still has those intentions. So I see a lot of females have that mistake where they make the mistake of thinking that, oh, just because I don't feel that way, we could just be friends. You always have to remember that the man has those intentions still lurking. And because men understand that about other men, that's why some men feel uncomfortable when their wife is claiming, and then they will now end up, or their babes are, and then you now end up saying, oh yeah, I mean, he used to like me. It's not, if a man is still there, if that mistake should happen, if the opportunity comes, he will take it and fly with it. So that's one of the reasons, why we're having this, because I know there's a female perspective. There's always that part of, no, truly, he's my friend. Yes, to you. But is that truly? So there's hard conversations that need to be had where the boundary is truly made, which means, for example, if the guy calls you, you can't be flirting. You can't be all with it. It has to be that he understands that it is a no-go area. I mean, what do you think?
I think I agree, actually. For a while, I think I grew up, like I said last episode, having female best friends, actually. But I feel one thing I'll add to even first address is you met this person, you were not born together. Even if you were born together, you grew with this person. I think it's rather selfish of a friend to not give a new person in their lives an opportunity for them to get to know you. Right, because if I'm spending time with my best friend and they're in a relationship, where's the opportunity for them to grow with that partner? So like you said, it's now left for you to take a step back and just allow this relationship flourish, because it's literally like a fresh plant, right? You need to water it, you need to give the attention and everything. And I would also say about like, you're very correct, most times it's less about when men are uncomfortable with a certain man in a female's life. It's not about you, it's because we know men. Like you said, the man it's hard for you to see a man that is comfortable just being like, okay, I'm fine. There's always that what if it may just swing in my way, and you always have that advantage of, I knew her before you, I know her better than you, That's why one of the errors that we even have that happens is when the relationship is going through its rocky patch and you still go to vent to that friend that likes you. Like you said, it's just ensuring there are clear-cut boundaries. And I think we also have to be very reasonable, unselfish, where if you know someone is liking you and they are in a relationship, right, let's even flip it, or they are trying to get to know someone, I'm not going to be out there trying to call you every now and then. I'll give that person an opportunity, because one thing I've realized also, and I think I'll speak from the men's perspective, that it happened to me one time that I had a friend and we're close and they were going to travel out, and I was like, I think I like you. But it was after I unpacked, I was like, it's the closure I'm afraid of losing, because I feel like once they are going to school. Once they go to school, they will meet someone, and now I'm losing my spot. I feel insecure. I may lose this friendship because they now have somebody in their life. I'm like, nah, I don't really. But I don't think people spend enough time in realizing their motives behind all of these things. So I think even being honest with yourself, because sometimes you don't really like these people. You just like the fact that you like how the attention, how they make you feel, and now a relationship will now be like, oh, I think I have a crush on you. I learned the hard way and I apologize. It's actually very, very manipulative in that sense, because you do not want to selfish, and you're using manipulation to get what you want. I just think we just have to be, first of all, honest with ourselves. What do we want from this friendship, and put the boundaries, because it's really all about boundaries.
In response to your point on selfishness and manipulation, I think one of the things people need to understand is how they attach to people, their attachment styles. There's a fantastic book on this called Attached, and I read it a few years ago. And you have secure attached people, anxious attached people, avoidant people, and anxious avoidant people, and how these people interact in relationships differ. So someone who comes as selfish or manipulative in this way, sometimes they might be just anxiously attached. So that anxiety of, oh, if they go, then they'll find someone better. I would fade into the background, etc., etc. That's an anxiety that you've attached to your friendship, that you're not secure enough in your relationship with that person or who you are as a person to see the value that you could bring in their lives or how it is, and there's that fear of losing people. But I think the flow of life is you will lose some people along the way and you gain some people along the way. My mantra for that is be civil with all people, be cordial with all people. So regardless of whether you fall out after a fight or it's just a natural disintegration because of time, distance, circumstances, whatever it may be, there's no bad blood, to quote Taylor Swift, right, in any of your relationships. And as a person, you begin to recognize, okay, why am I anxiously attached? And begin to unpack that for yourself. That's just a little note.
So basically, better communication,
yes,
right? And when we talk on communication, this leads me to, in previous episodes we've discussed how it's hard for men to communicate, whether emotions, how they feel, and I know most times the reason we can't communicate is because sometimes it's used, against us again, or we feel like we won't be understood. But I want to ask, because see, we understand why we don't communicate. Now, for women, are there, like you guys, sorry, PKem, let me start with you. Are there men in your life? By the way, let me do a formal introduction. This lovely lady beside me is my one and only partner of life. So she's my beautiful wife. Come on. So I'm excited to have on air with me. But back to the question. I've done the formal introduction, the woman of my dreams. Anyways, as we go.
Oh my God.
What we want to, and I'll ask you because are there things or struggles? Are there things that you find hard to confront the men in your life about, like whether it's your brother, you see how I'm being smart? Whether it's your brother, your father, but the men in your life, even myself, are there things you feel like it might be difficult to either confront or express to men? Because we would like to hear from females too. We know what we find hard.
For me, are there things I find difficult to express? Personally, no. However, I'm very cognizant of the mindset of said men. So, be it you, being my brother, being my dad, based on previous interactions or what they've shared with me and how I see their perspective on whatever topic we're going to engage in. Of course, I'll be very measured in how I say certain things, or I will choose particular timings not to say certain things. So for me, it's basically what I just said. I'm not worried about what I would like to express.
Okay.
For women, I think there's always a need to express ourselves, but then we're concerned about how it will be received. And if it will be interpreted the way we're trying to pass the message on.
I find that so funny because honestly, I think that comes to the way we process things. Because I think with men, now, tell me if I'm right or wrong. I think for women, right, when they express, it's just to get it off the chest. They feel they mostly want to talk to somebody, to just share those feelings, but for men it's different. We don't want to share the feelings. We want to express in a form of solution to that feeling or solution to whatever. So if, for example, if I'm having an emotional crisis with someone, I'm speaking to her to solve it, like to say, if I'm having issues with you, I'm not talking just to to vent. I'm speaking because I want you to solve it. Do you get it? But if you don't feel like the person can solve it, you rather not speak. So it just goes to that whole idea of how come we have that, like, I can't say how come because that's natural, but do you see that play a lot of times even in your relationships with me?
I think it depends on the circumstance. Okay. There are moments when you vent because you want to vent and let it out. And there are times I vent and be like, this is what's happening. What do you think I should do about this? So, and I apply this with my female friends as well. Most of the time when people call me and ask, if my friend calls me in a panic or something, like, are you calling to rant? Do you want support? Do you want advice? And they tell me which of the options they would rather take. So I think it's not all the time women are venting because they just want to vent. It's being able to ask, okay, you've said all of this. What is the next thing? Do you want advice, or is it that you just wanted me to listen? Or do you want support? And how can I support you in that circumstance? So I think it's being able to understand the situation. And if you don't even understand, ask the question. I ask that with my other female friends. So it's not like a one size fits all sort of thing. And I think it's because naturally there is sometimes, your community, your tribe, as you would call it, is there to like help you through the process. So sometimes it's like, I just want someone to listen. I don't really want the advice right now. What I want right now is to lay it all down, get it off my chest, have a little cry, a nice little hug is good. Get me some Haagen-Dazs. Let's watch Love Island. Cool. Or I've let it out of my chest. Now, this is what I'm considering. What do you think? Or do you have another alternative for me to consider that I have not considered? That is how I see it personally in my own experience of it.
Okay. I was going to say, I think men actually vent, but venting is non-verbal. In the sense, I think second episode, when a man is upset or angry, he goes to the bar to drink or smoke, or goes to the console to play PS, or goes to play a game, goes to the gym. Our ways of venting as men is non-verbal in that sense, because I believe every human being should have a way of letting out steam. But for men, it's more non-verbal, because even when you go to, like, you're upset or you just want to leave that space and you're going to hang with your guys, you're not going to tell them your problems. You're just going to, what's up now? And you're talking about something else. It's just, I think maybe in that process of just being in a different atmosphere or venting in that sense, non-verbally, you're able to come back to that same space, but you're better off. I don't know if you can relate.
No, yes.
Maybe watch a game, play a game, go to the gym, and you come back, you really have, you're different. You released that tension.
Exactly. So I'm sure she can attest to this. I don't like, personally, but I vent. No, I don't like, what's the word? I don't like talking about things. But I have tried over the years to try to vent to myself. But I've noticed that the more I vent, right, the more it affects me. Like I don't like the fact that I vent. I don't know how to explain it. I'd rather go through the non-verbal way and just. So I've noticed that the more, like when I'm venting, most times I don't even want you to talk. I just want to play my role as a partner that is just telling you what I'm going through. But not because sometimes those things weigh on you, or you're trying to put in a part of your brain and move on. But when you're talking, it's almost like you're relieving it. So like he said, it is true. We would prefer to just shut down, move on. Find a solution, move away. But having to just speak on some things it doesn't do well with, it's not, and I like what Muriel said in the last episode, where she said it's not in the neural pathways for men. It's like, we just don't know how to do it, maybe because we weren't brought up, we weren't taught.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Doesn't that open a new area? I mean, what's good, bro? New conversations, real life. So shouldn't it open a new conversation for how do you guys get yourself out of that? Because as human beings, God has given everyone emotions, female, male, right? God, he is emotive as well. So, and God expresses himself freely. So could it be a thing of social conditioning that men have come under, where your father's father was like, you're a man, do not cry. We don't cry. You have to show yourself tough. Then your dad is doing the same thing to you. So for you, it's like, this is what the social norm is. Forget how my family raised me. But in society, it's awkward. Even that's why you get some women too, when they see men crying, they're like, why are you crying? You're a man. But I believe from the beginning of time, I don't think it was supposed to be that way. I think everyone is supposed to freely express themselves. From your last episode, Muriel too said it, that love is a risk. And I think it's men learning now how to see love and receive. So people can give love, but I think the problem with men is actually receiving that love and falling into the risk of being hurt.
You see, and I think I hear you, but also I think it's beyond. The truth is, I think it's even beyond what you say on your parents, right? We have to change the whole construct of the whole societal beliefs, because most men, and I'll tell you this hands down, is that most men's traumas of not speaking comes from women. It comes from either how they react, them using it against you. Do you get? It's not what you were brought up. It's just usually whatever you experience during the times that you try. So I have an experience of someone that I know who expressed, and it was used against him, and never again did he. I've been through that too, where you felt vulnerable and it's been used as a weapon against you. So there has to be a shift, not just on the men. There has to be a shift on the women also, to accept men to open up, because it goes back to the video we saw last episode, where a man that maybe is trying to be more available is being told, why are you picking up the phone? Shows you're jobless. So if you keep hearing things like that, you tend to react on things like that. Now that's not a father or grandfather telling you not to be available. That's another. Yeah.
Sir, I wanted to just to respond to that. In a way, we're all saying the same thing, but it's maybe putting the proper puzzle pieces in the right place. So from your last episode, and I think whether in psychology in itself, and even biblically, men raise men, right? So no matter what a woman says, it's what you have seen you may want to mirror. And society as a whole is made up of people. So it starts with me. It starts with my dad. It starts with his own dad, right? So if in you now mirroring what you've seen, whether it's a child, whether it's a woman, whether it's an auntie that brings up the issue of why you crying, or you are vulnerable and they don't take it properly, if the man moves or lends himself to learning to be emotionally intelligent, like the last episode said, you're secure in yourself. I've said what I've said. I've emoted and I'm okay. I shared that with you because I felt safe. Now, I now realize maybe with you don't know how to handle me emoting, but it doesn't stop me, or it shouldn't stop me from emoting next time with someone else, because it's actually healthy to do so. Of course, there are different degrees of, you emote in anger, or you're just expressing yourself in telling someone how your day has been or how you're feeling. But it's not that other person's receipt of my emotions that would now, or that should impede me from being expressive to the next person I feel I want to express to. So
I agree. I was even going to speak, because when you look at young boys as young children, boys, 6-year-old, 5-year-old, the moment they have something, there's no shame in going to mommy, I cut my hand, and they're crying. There's no shame in emoting to our moms, a lot of us, right? Like you said, is when we now get into society and we do not now find these safe spaces, and just like psychology that affects everyone, and with the traumas, we now feel like it's not safe, let me guard myself, right? We now refuse to emote. because we do not want to feel weak, we do not want to feel small. Maybe last time, because I genuinely feel like that's why a lot of men are very, very drawn to their mothers, because they feel this space is safe enough. So I agree with you, and I agree, like you said, it's all a puzzle, but I think we all owe ourselves a responsibility to create those safe spaces, because the reason why men may not want to be vulnerable is because they've tried it, like he said, PSG, on various platforms. I just feels like, nah, you're going to use it against me, I'll feel small, Men really want to find, because at the end of the day, I believe all men, that's why even in marriages, I believe men are looking for their mothers, so to speak. They're still looking for nurturing. They're still looking for somebody that will take care of them.
Freud will be super proud. Yeah. Sigmund Freud will be super proud. This is his theory.
So I believe men are looking for a woman they can really, really lay their heads on their bosom and feel safe, and not feel like I'll wake up and be without my locks. Like,
exactly. Can I say something though? Women in relationship with their men don't want to be your mother. Please. So you're asking for our perspective. We're giving it to you. Please,
this one is new, because you want us to be your father and mother.
No. We don't want to be. We want you to be leaders. We have a father that gives you your mission, so to speak. But in terms of women, you have a mother.
No. What about regarding nurturing? I don't mean like moms. Nurturing and
So biblically, Eve's own function, or the woman's function, is more of, a nurturer. So you see me as someone that is bone of your bones and flesh of your flesh, and I've been given that role, or that function, right, to be a nurturer. Hence, the child is coming from me. But everything, as your helper, we build together. Then I nurture you, It's still the same of being a carer, to your needs. I'm just saying, we are not your mothers. We are your spouses, as you would have it, and we're also there to nurture, but from the place of a spouse, not your mom.
That was what I meant, actually, from that nurturing, because we want to. Thank you. It's fine. It's fine.
But to be fair, I'm sure there's some men watching this now that would have learned something. Apparently, don't look at your significant other,
mommy,
like mom. Get sense,
like our brothers.
But that leads me to another question. This whole idea of gender roles. So, it's the reason being, we spoke about it last, and then she just said something about the function of the female, of Eve. At that point where she was created, and the function takes us to the function of the males, the function of the females. Since you cannot be our mother, and this, what are the gender roles, right? What do you think about them? Do you think they are truth, or do you think it's societal, creation, or what's your take from me?
I would say it's a both and in the sense of there's an organic aspect of gender roles, but there's also the societally constructed aspects of gender roles. This is, again, my opinion in this regard. I think there's certain functions or functionalities that we can do easily, right? If it's biologically it is to carry a baby. Biologically it is to, most women are able to nurture in the same way. It's difficult for some, but most women are biologically meant to be able to do that. But on the other hand, there are other aspects that I think has been woven into it, in the sense of this is what a woman is only supposed to do, which, quite frankly, I fight against often, because I think, and those roles could look like, oh, you're in charge of, whether it's the cooking, the tidying, the majority brunt of child rearing should be on women, etc. I don't agree with those concepts personally. I think that's something that has been ingrained in society over time, and we're seeing the shifts happen now, in the sense of you have more present fathers in the lives of their children. In fact, shout out to my faves, the Obamas. They had a podcast recently And Barack said a lot of the issues we see in the world and how there's a huge concern on men, especially young men, and where they're getting the information from, is because for a lot of young men, there's an absence of fathers or healthy father figures to give them a blueprint of what it looks like to be a respectable member of society. And they're turning to different podcasts based on Andrew Tate or something else. And it's this hyper focus on wealth, debauchery, whatever, to finally feel like, yes, I've made it. I'm the guy, I'm the man. And in that podcast, he spoke about Barack didn't grow up with his father. He grew up with a single mother. But he says he learned a lot from his grandfather. And when he met Michelle, he learned a lot from his father-in-law before he passed away on what it looks like to be a good partner, to be a good father, how to receive love, what to take from it that helped him turn out the way he has. And in turn, his brother-in-law said the same thing. Like, not just my dad, but I had uncles, I had teachers at school who, they weren't the wealthiest, but they had integrity. They were men of great character. They were well respected. And that, for me, was enough for me to take the responsibility with. He gave the example of his dad. He'll come back from work, and in their generation, is like, oh, it seems like he'll sit back, watch TV. But at some point, once he notices the kids are out, he's coming out to play with the kids. He's present in their lives. And so that reflects in how he's raising his kids, that he's present. Barack gave the example of when his daughters were babies, he took the night shift. Michelle slept the night through. He sleep trained his two daughters. It wasn't Michelle who did that. That was Barack's role. But we live in a world where they will tell you, oh yeah, sleep training, the mother will do it. Changing the diapers, mother will do it. And you see, there's so many examples of women, even within our own society, you see them outside, they're struggling with their child and their partner is there and they're not helping. And that breaks my heart because I don't think that is a gender-specific role. I think you're both parents in this scenario. That child is both of yours. It's like, it is our child. Not my child when it's cranky and wants to be fed or needs a diaper change or throwing a tantrum. It is our child. I'm overwhelmed. Do you know what, babe? You go have a little vino. I'm gonna take the baby. I'll take a stroll with the baby.
It's one of those. I think that. Anyways, we'll get into that because those are, part of the relationships. How well you guys understand each other, which is very important because even as the woman that was created for Adam was created as a helper, and the helper just means as an assistant. Sorry, I don't know why I'm getting tongue twisted, but not in the sense of below, because she was created equally. So it's one of those being able to assist one another, be able to be there for one another, because as someone that assists you, right, you would want to assist the person too whenever they're in need. So I do understand where you're coming from. Do you have something to add, Kems? Because that, the question's for both of you. So.
Yeah, so of course my own belief system is, what does God say about the matter? What was God's design? Because everything begins and ends with him. So in terms of, let's start with gender equality now. Is that what God intended? Of course that's what he intended, because the Bible says that he made them male and female in his image. So that already shows me there's equal worth given to male and female. We make man male and female, so that's on that level of gender equality. But then in the world we have now, in the society as it is, and the world is diverse. There are some parts of the world where they recognize the woman. There are some that a woman's voice must not be heard, So that just shows the diverse world we live in. So based on that, it's equality as God intended being exercised? Not really. And that lends itself to what the world sees as roles. Oh, a woman, she's so so she can't do so much. And then I'm the man, I'm the provider, so there's more on me. So you, woman, just tend to what I can't do, which is carry a baby. I can't do that. You were fashioned for that, so do that. The baby has to eat, so get into the kitchen, cook. And by the way, I'm hungry, I'm tending to more important things. So there's this divide that the world has, it's women versus men, or men versus women, whichever way. Whereas it wasn't so. Yes, God made the male first, and he said, okay, tend to all these duties, name the animals, tend to the garden, keep it. But the Bible says man was alone and God saw it was not good. Everything else he made was good, but God saw man was alone, and he didn't say he didn't think it was okay. The Bible says he saw it was not good. That's a heavy thing. So it needed something heavy to come into play for it to kind of balance itself out. That's where he said, I put you in a deep sleep and I take from your makeup to make what you need to bring you to a state of this is good. And that's where we were met. So that's a very important thing. It was like a missing cog that God also identified and said, I'll bring her into the case and I will create a helper. So I'm okay in my role to this handsome man as his helper, because I know the functions, and I say functions or roles as we will call it, because again, going back to scripture, when God was saying, oh my goodness, what have you guys done? Like when sin came into the whole thing, we now see division. It's the woman you gave me that made me eat of this. Then she too, oh, it's the serpent that made me. So we now see that whole, but prior to that, there was nothing like that. And in God saying what the consequences were, that's where you now hear in your function, of course, he didn't say, the Bible doesn't say he said in your function, but we can infer it because he said in childbearing, you will have pain. So it doesn't mean it was because of sin, she will give birth. No, he says in that function, I gave you, it's going to be painful. Then man, in providing, you're going by the sweat of your brow. Before it was easy. So it already shows me that, oh, there are functions here. And they were to work in harmony because prior to sin coming into the equation, everything was all nice and breezy. So in my function to that, for him, I'm very comfortable with that. Nurturing the children, nurturing my husband, he is going to toil or provide, but at the same time, that sweat on the brow, I'm there to, as a nurturer, to mop it for him. Do you see what I mean? And the same way, when we're giving birth to the kids, he's already been assigned the role of leadership. So you know you are leading these kids, right? So that's where there's, so it's not just, oh, okay, you raise the children. Oh no, you're the leader. You're even leading me. So you have to lead all of us. Do you see what I mean? So once we understand that, I don't think it's something we'll shy away from. Society is going one way, but again, from all these things I've said of Bible, I'm a believer. I'm not going that way. I'm going the other way. I need to understand that in going the other way, I need to push against the tide. But it starts with me and what will flow down to our children, what will flow down to him being comfortable in his role. But I know we're equals. Again, the Bible says, there's no Jew nor Gentile, no slave nor free, no male nor female, but in Christ we are one. Our marriage is centered on that love of Christ. So the way we see ourselves is not based on what society is saying. So that's my perspective on this matter of gender roles and how it plays out really.
Fantastic. I think we're so out of time, but as we're rounding up, one word. I just want to know, what is one thing that you wish the men in your life had or have that will let them thrive? Just one word. What is one thing?
I think for me, the overarching theme for me is psychological safety, not just for women, but also for men. I want men to feel safe enough to express and feel seen and feel heard. I think once that is established, then maybe we'll start making good progress.
One word. I can't do it in one word. I'll say receive love. And it goes through all generations. It's transgenerational, that word, receive love. And learn to do so, because your parents may not be able to teach you to do that. Your fellow bros may not be able to teach you. So it starts with you being intentional to say, I want to be emotionally intelligent so that I can express my emotions in receiving love and expressing love. So,
thank you very much. That was another enjoyable,
we could go on and
I've
on
learned.
and on.
I've learned. I'm no more calling you mother. I've learned. So, but that was nice. Thank you guys so much for giving us this female perspective on a lot of topics. And I hope the men are learning, and we can't wait to do this again. Hopefully you'll join us.
Hopefully.
Funbi is always there, so we can always do the questions. All right, and thank you so much. So we've come to another episode, the end of another episode, and hopefully we'll see you next week on What's Good, Bro. Alrighty, have a good one. Thank you for listening to What's Good, Bro.
You can send us questions using the email in our show notes.
Remember to rate,
review,
share,
and subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcast.